Okay, a couple of boys said that they had trouble with these questions, so I'm just going to go over them for you. So with 7a, sketch the graphs of the following. So these are semicircles, and if you have the y equals plus or minus, you'll see r squared minus x squared. So this means that they're the semicircles that are occurring in the y. So this would be if it's a positive y there. If it's a negative outside here, we'll see the graph down there. Alright, so let's have a look at the one they've given me. So y equals the square root of 36 minus x minus 2 squared. So you can see here, if 36 is actually 6 squared, so you know the radius equals 6, you can see from that. Now, because there's a positive outside, we know it'll be in the top two quadrants of the graph. And also this minus 2 means it's moved the center of the circle over to the right, move center right by 2 from 0, because normally the center's at 0, by 2 from 0. So if we go about and we sketch that, so I'll just get my ruler up. So if you quickly do your axes. All right, so let's think about where the center is. It's only moved the center to the right, so it hasn't moved up. So if you go 1, 2, so here's where the center of the circle is at 2. Now, if you think that the radius is 6, so that means from here, if you add 6, you get the outside of the circle, which would be, which if you add 6 is 8. So you've got 8, 0 as 1 point. Now if you minus 6 the other way, you'll end up with your point at negative 2 and 0. So we know that this is a positive, so my semicircle would go like that. So I probably should have the y, and oops, extend that one out a bit, x. So there, this top point here would be 8 above there. So if you wanted to label that point, you know it's at 2 and 8. Sorry, not 8, 6, because the radius is 6, 2 and 6. But you can just sketch it like that. All right, so let's have a look at the second one. So B. Okay, with this y minus 2 equals the square root. So we might move this 2 over so we have a y equals. So then essentially what we've got is y equals 4 minus x plus 2 squared plus 2. So let's see what's happened. So this 2 would have moved the center up 2. This 2 with the x would have moved the center to the left by 2. So if you think our center is normally 0, 0, now our center is actually, because you've moved 0 left by 2, so it'd be negative 2, positive 2. And we can see that that's r squared, so that means r must be 2, so the radius equals 2. So if you quickly go to sketch that, now once again this is a positive y, so what I'm talking about here is positive, so it's up in the top half of that axis. So let me type in my center, which is at negative 2, 2. So here we go, there's my center, negative 2, 2, so it's moved up, the semicircle has moved up. And if you've got a radius of 2, so if I go that way 2, I end up on 0. So this would be 0, 2, and if I go 2 out that way, I'm at negative 4, 2. So then when you sketch this graph essentially, oops, sorry, the whole thing, it will look like that. And obviously if you really wanted to put that peak point, we're at negative 2, but the radius we know is 2, so that would be so we're already at 2, so that would be 4 up there. Okay, Okay, with question 8, you're still sketching the circle, but instead of it being an equation, it is now an inequality. So we see all these inequalities. So if we just look at the first circle here, so if you were sketching that, so the center is 0, 0, and you can see that there, and the radius is 2. So we've gone out 2, and out here would be -2, up here's 2, and here's -2. So what there, because of this this symbol here, that is, when is this graph less than or equal, or equal to 4. So if you look up here, if you think about it, if the 4's up here, so when is it less? When is this graph underneath there? Well, it's when if you go to shade it, it would be, it'd be all in here. So this graph, it doesn't matter, it's under 4, all in there. So the whole thing occurs under 4. So, and because it's equal to, you see this solid line around here. Now, if we look at the next one, B, say here, where it's at when is it, what that means is when is it here, that's greater, just greater than, that was than 1. So if you think about this graph has a radius, this one has a radius of 1. So here's 1, -1, 1, and -1. So when is this graph greater than 1? Well, that'll be all on the outside, because underneath would be when it's less, that's when y is less than 1, is all under here. But when is it greater, it would be all on the outside. So like out here. Now, so when it's greater than 1, it'll be all on the outside. Now, but because this symbol has not got the equals to, that means that this circle, has to have, no, I can't rub it out. It should be a dotted line. So the circle should have a dot, this purple line should be dotted because it's not equal to. So when is it greater than? So you shade like that. So otherwise you just shade the circle normal and then, sketch the circle normal and then shade appropriately. So if it's less than, it's color in the circle. If it's greater than, it's a region outside the circle. If it's equal to, you have a solid purple line or like solid circle line. If it's just like a greater thing, we should see a dotted line like that. Okay.